education by being a kid of a teacher. I watched my dad teach for 34 years. He coached as well, and then I watched my sister teach. She was a teacher for 5 years before she pursued other things.
What is the backstory that got you where you are today?
The backstory that got me to where I am today was probably just a series of interviews that went my way. Mr. Watts was the principal at the time, and he asked me a couple interview questions that probably only I could have answered them in the way that he was probably looking for them to be answered, and I got the job.
Are there any interests or occupations you explored before arriving?
I initially went before teaching into business, and then for a short while in college I pursued a military option, but settled on teaching as kind of the best fit for me.
Many people who enter teaching profession never get past 3 or 4 years before leaving it. Why do you think this majority of people who start out as teachers never end up teaching?
One of the biggest reasons that people don't make it past 5 years, I think, is the stress that's associated with the job. A lot of the students see the teachers just standing in front of them delivering instruction, but there's a lot more that goes into that delivery of that instruction than what you notice. And it can really chew up your life and take up a lot of time. That first year of teaching especially is extremely, extremely difficult, and you really only appreciate it unless you go through it.
The teaching profession oftentimes gets a bad rap of and late, and there has been a great deal of coverage, some good and some bad, in the media about education. What are some things you would like people to know about the teaching profession?
I think the one thing that I'd like people to know is that there's a lot of hardworking teachers. I think a lot of us kind of get a bum rap based upon a story here or a story there that suggests maybe that schools as a whole are not doing well or teachers aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing. I don't know of a single teacher that isn't busting their butt to do a good job and to try to do things, that are positive and creative and beneficial for students.
How might the negative attitudes be turned into positive? What solutions might you offer to those skeptics who target public education?
The negative attitudes might be turned positive in that, as much as you sometimes don't like something, if you can take that same energy and turn it towards trying to overcome whatever that thing is that you don't like, then maybe you'll have a better shot in school or a better opportunity to teach or to learn and so forth.
What solutions might you offer to those skeptics who target public education?
I don't think anybody has solutions that last in education. I think that's one of the problems with education. The solution that I would offer would be to stick with something and actually try to see through it to an end to see if it works or not, rather than jump to the next thing that perhaps you think is going to work, but you don't actually know if the previous thing you were doing was working or not because you didn't finish through with it. So stick with something and see it through to the end.
What are a few challenges that face education today, and how are you coping with these challenges?
One of the challenges this year, but I think it's been for several years now, is technology and just trying to comprehend everything that's coming at you and to make sense of it, to learn it, to master it, if that's even possible. In terms of my ability to cope with that, it's just trying to make sure that I get done what has to be done, and ultimately trying to occasionally do the things that I can do to, best utilize technology for the benefit of my students.
What is the one thing missing from our educational system that you would like to see implemented?
The one thing that's missing from our educational system, I honestly don't even know how to answer that question. I really don't. So I don't. I got to think about that one. I really do. I don't. I think there's so many things that are missing. To identify it just as one is almost
A challenge
too difficult, right?
And then, what would you like to change about your school that might help the student achievement, the overall culture of the school, or the perception of those on the outside who really don't know the demands of the day-to-day operations in a high school?
In terms of changing the culture of the school, I like the culture of DeWitt High School. I think it's a good fit for a lot of kids in terms of learning. I think sometimes the perception that people have is outdated as they look to the high school now. And so perhaps I think one of the things that might be done is to make people more aware of what going to school is like now, with all the standardized testing and the drive to get results. And it's tough. And I think a lot of DeWitt kids are tough in that sense, that they produce high results on tests that make this school a good place and allow it to have a good culture.
How has technology helped education?
I think it's made students' access to information significantly greater than what it has been in the past. So when teachers say things now in class, more material can be referenced, which, you know, in some cases makes things more relevant to the kids that are sitting in front of them.
And how has it hurt in a way?
How has technology hurt
Education.
kids in a way? I think there's so much information that's available that it's sometimes burdensome to the point where kids don't even know what to do with the information that they have. And so they just get overloaded sometimes. Now I can't do this, I can't do this. But yet you have access to all this information. Why can't you do it? You know, it gets daunting, almost too difficult, if you will, sometimes.
Do you think technology has a negative impact on students' ability to get along or communicate academically or socially?
I'm sure it does. I poll the students in my classes from time to time, asking them about the social networking sites and so forth, just kind of to get a read for that, because I have kids of my own. I'm not a big part of that culture, social networking culture. I do Facebook, I do have a cell phone, I've recently started a text, but I'm not such a crazy texter that it monopolizes my life, but I've seen examples where it has. And when you take cell phones away from kids, they freak out, you know, and begin to cry and go crazy because they don't have access to that device.
Can you share with our viewers some of the rewarding aspects of teaching?
Some of the rewarding aspects of teaching, I think, just knowing at the end of the day, you perhaps, you know, made a light come on in a kid's head, or you got them to think perhaps in a way that they differently, or rather hadn't previously thought, hopefully critically thought about something in a way that they hadn't previously thought. And for me, that's what I most like about teaching, is pushing kids' thinking and trying to get them to perhaps become interested in things that maybe previously they weren't interested in.
What are one or two of your most memorable moments in your career this far?
I think as an experience, something I lived through was 9/11, and that whole time period that followed, you know, was just unique in many respects that are, you know, very difficult to explain. And I think also, interestingly enough, when I talk to a lot of people and they ask me what I teach and so forth, and when I say, you know, modern military history, they really get kind of excited about that topic. And, oh man, we never had that when we were in school, and man, I wish we would have had that. And that was a significant milestone for a number of different reasons. One, it wasn't previously taught. Two, I was very interested in it. I had a lot of things to enhance it. And three, there seemed to be a strong student desire to actually participate in that particular kind of a class.
One. What would you say to someone who is entering the teaching profession?
For somebody entering the teaching profession today, I think I would say that it has become something that I don't think I originally thought it was going to be. I don't know if that's good or bad. It's just kind of the way it is. I think teaching's always been a demanding profession if you do it right, and that the demands, rather than being the same, I think they're getting to be a lot more, and it's every bit as demanding as any other career out there, but the rewards perhaps aren't necessarily there that people might think should be, given the level of demands that is required.
How do you hope your students will remember you?
I want my students to remember me kind of, you know, as a person that was interested in what they did, that tried to get them to learn, that was objective, that didn't have an agenda. I wasn't trying to force them into thinking a particular thing. Rather, I wanted them to kind of discover the excitement that is, you know, history from time to time, and to, as much as they can, make connections to that. And also that I was friendly, that I was nice, that I was fair, and treated them well.
To what degree is creativity important to teaching and learning?
Creativity is very important. We all know that. What's Mr. LaFay say? Innovate or perish. I mean, you have to. If you're not creative, you're doing the same old thing. And in the day and age that we live in, from one day to the next, you can't do the same old thing. Students will pick up on it. Parents will pick up on it. Administrators will pick up on it, and you'll pick up on it. You'll get stale. You'll get old. You'll get burned out, and you've got to change. You've got to do things different.
What profession other than teaching would you like to participate in?
Farming.
What profession would you not want to participate in?
Kamikaze.
What baffles you?
Moodle.
What is one of your strengths?
Dedication.
Define one of your weaknesses.
I don't have weaknesses. Come on.
What about the future are you looking forward to?
Seeing my kids grow up.
What about the future scares you the most?
Seeing my kids grow up.
What is your favorite sound?
The sound of a B-52.
What is your least favorite sound?
That darn sound of people with their nails on the board, scratching.
What are 3 songs we would find on your iPod?
Don't Stop Believin' by Journey, Hank Williams Jr. songs, and probably some Toby Keith songs too.
Besides home, where is one place you feel at home?
On my lawnmower.
Where's one place you want to go that you have not been?
I'd love to go to Russia.
What are you thankful for?
My family.
What is the first thing you will do immediately following this interview?
Get back to work. I don't know.
We heard from some unnamed sources that you have been participating in some movies as extras over the summer. Could you explain?
Yeah, part of Michigan's desire to innovate its economy has been to try to attract movie companies to the state. And 2 years ago, I was an extra. I was a Chinese soldier. I drove a Humvee right down 75 for the remake of Red Dawn, which I don't think is going to come out. And then the second movie over this past summer that I got involved in was called Return to the Hiding Place, and I played a German soldier. And if you go to the internet, you can probably watch the trailer. And I don't know if you'll be able to pick me out, but I'm in there. So.